What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to another tips and tricks guide for Onslaught mode in Dungeon Defenders 2. Now, these tips and tricks are for the advanced Ancient Power Grinder, and definitely not in the realm of basics. If you're looking for some basic tricks and tips for Onslaught mode, head on over to the video in the link in the description below of just some basic starter tips to get you going in Onslaught. Now, first off, once again, this is focused on the Ancient Power Grinder that's very concerned with getting those Ancient Power points as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Now, a lot of these tricks are going to come down to gold management. And one thing you will find just after going through on your first Ancient Power run is you can spend far more gold than you're making, which of course is just going to end up running your stockpiles of gold dry, and a lot of these tricks are going to be centered directly around that. Now, first off, don't upgrade your gear while progressing. The gear system, it's very aggressive. You get upgrades very, very regularly, and there's no point in spending any gold or defender medals on upgrading any of these gear items, as in some cases that item may only last not only an entire floor, but maybe only a wave or a map. I mean, this stuff is going to be going very, very quick. You're going to be cycling in and out of gear very frequently, so don't spend any gold upgrading any of that stuff, as it's not really going to matter until you get a max Chaos 7 piece. Now, I have a hard time saying don't upgrade your max Chaos 7 pieces when you get it, as I'm going to do it, as that's going to ease the pain on those last few Onslaught floors in between Ancient Power resets. Now, on that same note, make sure you use Jackpot. Jackpot, we all know it's a very underwhelming shard and it's just a small amount. However, with gold being such a big deal and how you can spend the gold so quickly, every little bit counts. So you don't need to maximize to get through an Ancient Power cycle and to get up to floor 65. So you don't have to have the perfect shard in every spot, and in my opinion, the perfect shard in everyone's chess piece that's grinding through these cycles is Jackpot. Number 3, of course, the last group of floors can be a lot more difficult to get up to floor 65. So what I've been doing, what seems to work real well, is once you get to floor 54, or once you pass floor 54, that unlocks Chaos 7. Throw on all your best blues and go with the old school loot system and head over to Chaos 7 and grind yourself out some max medallions, relics, totems, marks, whatever you're looking for. Kind of what I usually look for personally going into the last floors is about 10 quality Chaos 7 relics. That's going to be able to cover all the walls. It's going to cover every defense that I really am going to use without massive amounts of swapping around. Almost in the realm of the basics, however, I'm sure most people already know, make sure you split up your hybrids. If you had a high Ascension hybrid and you just prestiged and used the Ancient Power, that hero is not what it used to be. So get yourself a monk for Flame Auras, a monk for Lightning Strikes, and a different monk for Sky Guards. Of course, DPS and Wallers work very well together, so you can still hybrid those out without any issues. Now, as you're going through, you will find dead spots, or what feels like dead spots in progression, where you get just items that are just the slightest, tiniest little upgrade, or they feel completely flat as you're going through the Onslaught floors. Just power through these floors, as there's a very strong chance that you have already got a sufficient amount of power to clear the next group of floors. So just go ahead and power right on through those floors, and don't sweat the no upgrades. Back to gold management. Definitely only upgrade shards as you need them. Don't go through right after you reset and upgrade a bunch of stuff. Only upgrade it as it's going into a piece for something you're going to use. Of course, you can easily run through millions of gold just upgrading shards alone. So be very careful and pick and choose what you upgrade and what you don't. Now, I did choose to upgrade Mass Destruction and Vicious Strikes and Thunderstruck every single time through, and I'll probably continue to do that, even though that is just a huge chunk of gold every time. Now, not necessarily to gold, but as far as all of those pet goodies you have saved up, all the pet reagents, all the pet rerolls, all the pets, everything's, I'm saving them. The first time I reset, I blew through a bunch of that stuff, getting all kinds of pets leveled up. And we all know when you start back at floor 1, having a level 60 pet makes a huge difference. However, when you get to floor 8 or floor 10, it's not that big of a difference, and it doesn't matter anymore. So what I've chose to do is I'm upgrading one pet all the way to 60, and that's going to be a defense power defense crit pet, and it's going to go on whatever my primary DPS that I'm using for the bulk of the tower damage on the map. So if it's early on and I'm using flamethrower or flame auras, the monk that's dropping the flame auras is going to have that pet. Right now I'm using bees, so the dryad with the bees is going to equip that pet, and it helps you push through those lower floors. However, it doesn't make a huge difference where it's worth it to use all of your pet goods that you've saved up just to go through on one ancient power reset. Now, on that same note, I have chosen to upgrade Dragolich just to level 10, not taking them all the way to 60, but just getting them evolved for that ability. The ability is the same at level 10 that it is at level 60, so no need to upgrade it any further, and I'll just kind of allow it to upgrade itself as I play through the various floors. I try to stick with one DPS hero. Now, by all means, switch that hero up, but basically what I'm saying is you want one hero with a full set of gear. So you want one hero with a weapon and armors all the way across. And here's the twist, you want to use that hero as your mule. Yep, I said it, that's right, as your mule. So although gear that drops is floor-based, I've got a strange suspicion, and everyone seems to agree, that there is another form of gear gating that's based off of, once again, your strongest hero in your deck. Now, it's not like it was in Trials. It's not going to straight up give you junk gear, as I have gotten really good drops wearing no gear at all while testing this. However, one thing you will find is as you go through, there is a ridiculously wide range in gear that drops. Right next to each other from the same boss, you might have a relic with 10,000 primary stat and one right next to it with 17,000 primary stat. Now, one thing that most of us have noticed, and this is unconfirmed as it's just a small sample of people that have gone through the Ancient Power system already, is that if you use a hero as a mule in your deck, it closes that gap and you're only going to get the higher end from that floor. So stick with your DPS hero, don't sweat it, don't go through and nitpick every piece, but as a general rule, you want your best stuff sitting on that hero. Now back to the gold management again, don't try to gear every single hero. You don't want to have to put shards in a bunch of different heroes when actively you can only use one, and then each builder, of course, only needs one relic. They don't need any other gear at all. I do keep a Lobi set of boots on them for a speed shard, just for getting around the map to speed up the time building. However, don't try to gear every hero, just gear your one DPS hero and then one relic on each one of your builders for whichever defense is appropriate. And then once again, as I said, the upgrading is very aggressive. You're going to be swapping stuff out quite frequently. To make that whole process a lot quicker, I'm only using 2 shards in my armor and my weapons. So if I end up equipping a blue item, 2 shard slots, no big deal. I'm going to slam those 2 shards in there. If there's a legendary item, then yeah, I've got an empty shard slot. However, I'm not having to fish for any shards or spend, even though it's only a few seconds, I'm not having to spend those few seconds every floor, or even every wave for that matter, to go through and change out shards and swap them around. So hopefully this helps everyone out and helps them speed their journey and save their bank account when going through and grinding out the Ancient Power levels. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.